giving us an opportunity to talk to you about dialogue or some of the issues that are affecting Zimbabweans. From my understanding, one of the issues, or reading from your post on social media, it has been, let's sit down and talk as Zimbabweans. Let's have a dialogue. Just now on TV, why do you think dialogue brings solution to the national crisis?
Thank you so much, my brother. Thank you so much. I would like to start by saying Zimbabwe itself is now ripe for dialogue. Zimbabwe itself is now ripe for dialogue. We have been in a conflict in this country for a long time now. A long time. Probably, if we want to be honest with ourselves, we've never had a positive peace in Zimbabwe. Soon before the independence, we were in the fight against colonialism for almost 20 years in the bush. Soon after our independence, we engaged in the Kukuraundi conflict of Matebele, Nigeria, where many people died and so forth. Thereafter, with other challenges that we had in this country. I still remember the 2008 runoff elections, where many people died, and elections have been disputed. All the elections that have participated from 2000, none of the elections have come out clean. In all these conflicts I've given you, there was a dialogue. Our independence was both fought from two fronts. The armed struggle was the first front, but the second front, which actually gave us independence, was the longest house dialogue. When we went in the 1980s, the ZANU conflict, which was then dubbed the Kukuraundi. In 1987, there was a unity accord signed between ZAPU and ZANU. Again, it was a dialogue. We come to 2008, the ZANU MDC conflict, Mugabe-Tsvangirai conflict over the elections, the results of 2008. There was a lot of bloodshed that took place, but again, it was resolved by the dialogue as a means to deal with conflicts. So, history of this country, it tells itself that without dialogue, we don't get any solution. We've been having a conflict going on in this country. Well-defined conflict which is here is actually one political crisis. Is alive in this country. Economic crisis is alive in this country. Governance crisis is alive in this country. This country is under sanctions. Some people would call it restricted measures against individuals. But the effects of the restricted measures, if you want to call it that way, is that the economic decay is affected the people of Zimbabwe. So it's a conflict, it's a crisis, international conflict. Zimbabwe is disengaged from the international world. Zimbabwe is disengaged from the international world. Zimbabwe is not in the Commonwealth, for example. Zimbabwe is basically a barrier state. And who suffers out of all this are the people of Zimbabwe. The general population of Zimbabwe, who are our mothers, the women, our youth, our children. We've got lost generations as we speak now. There are youth that are graduating into being fathers and uncles without even having gone to work. And these are challenges that requires Zimbabweans to sit down together and resolve them. Then the question is, why have we chosen dialogue as a means of resolving conflict? That's the question. The question is, there are so many options which can be used to resolve conflicts, for example. Or people say there are so many ways to kill a cat. That's what people can say. For an example, people can resolve a dialogue or sort a conflict by taking arms against each other. What they are doing in Mozambique, what they are doing in DRC, what they are doing in Somalia, what they are doing in Boko Haram in Nigeria. Those are options of trying to resolve a conflict. But look at the consequences of those strategies. There's a loss of life. There is direct destruction of economic activities. Buildings are destroyed. People suffer. There's serious human rights abuses in the process. Like if you go back to Somalia, if you go back to people are bombed on markets, if you go to Nigeria, young women are being kidnapped, abducted, and raped, and everything is being done on them. And you cannot choose that one as an option at all. You cannot. If you're a leader who really knows that you're supposed to resolve things for the people, you cannot choose that. Let's go to the second method. Mass actions. The strategy that was employed by Mahatma Gandhi, Martin Luther King Jr., Nelson Mandela, and many others. They opted for mass actions. They achieved what they achieved. Thank you so much. But in Zimbabwe, we went through that struggle as well. Remember, MDC undertook a revolution to fight for the national constitution. And we organized effective mass actions in Zimbabwe, dubbed the Democratic Resistance Campaign, which actually produced the GNU of the 2008. It was a revolutionary struggle. But what we wanted at that time to achieve was the national constitution. And we achieved it. The national constitution, and we achieved it. So as we speak now, we are aware what should be done, what will be produced by the mass actions. We have already produced it. We want to go now into the implementation of our national constitution. For us to implement the national constitution, we now need a dialogue. To now pick item by item within the constitution and discuss them around the table and agree on how we should now effect those sections of the constitution that we want to achieve. For example, dialogue is more favorable. Other people might even decide to use the strategy of going to court. Zimbabwe itself has been to courts over dispute elections for several years. From 2000, we were to courts. We've used that strategy. In 2018, recently, we were to the Concord to argue about the fake results. And we've already used all these methods. We've now known what they can achieve. So, dialogue is one of the options that can be used to resolve a conflict. Dialogue itself. And that's the most effective one. And dialogue itself can actually give you...
Thank you, Senator, for giving us an opportunity to talk to you about dialogue, or some of the issues that are affecting Zimbabweans. From my understanding,
dialogue itself becomes the only option that we should all embark on in Zimbabwe. I have gone through all other known options to resolve a conflict. And in all cases, we found that dialogue was always used. And it produced effective results. Out of a dialogue, you bring peace in the nation. Out of dialogue, you bring good relationship among people that have been fighting among each other. Naturally, if you dialogue over a conflict, even one-on-one, at the end of that dialogue, if you agree on something, you become friends again. You become united. Our objective and our aim is to make sure that Zimbabweans are united over issues that affect them in this country. We want to be united over issues of economy. We want to be united over issues of politics. We want to be united over issues of governance. We want to be united over issues of electoral reforms. We want to be united over issues of general life. We've been fighting among each other for a very long time. And out of the end of the day, we benefit nothing out of these fights. The people of Zimbabwe have suffered for a very long time. And we cannot continue to watch people of Zimbabwe suffering. I can assure you and challenge you, if you carry out a survey now among Zimbabweans, they are sick and tired of our fights. They are sick and tired of mass actions. They are sick and tired of going to war again. They now expect leadership in Zimbabwe to sit down. Whether you are from MDCT, from ZAPU, from ZANU, we must come together and unite and discuss issues that are affecting us. I'm quite sure MDCT has got a list of issues that they want to be resolved. I'm quite sure ZANU-PF has got its own list of issues that want to be resolved in this country. I'm quite sure even other organizations like churches, they got their own issues that want to be resolved. I'm quite sure the business community has got its own issues that they want to do, them to be resolved. So if we all come to a table, round table, and put our issues on the table, and then discuss those issues and provide solution to every issue that has been raised, that has been put forward by an actor, we can actually come to an agreement and produce what we call the Zimbabwean Charter, or the Zimbabwean Blueprint that covers all items, all issues that affect us in Zimbabwe. And we all sign that blueprint as Zimbabweans and agree that this document is going to help us to resolve our issues. We will be able to have the same voice, to talk with the same voice to the international world, to go and negotiate issues of sanctions outside Zimbabwe, to go and negotiate issues of re-engagement outside Zimbabwe, to go and build a relationship with these countries that is taking us as a barrier there, to be able to bring harmony within our country itself. Do you know that Zimbabwe is highly polarized politically, economically? People don't see eye to eye. There's been a lot of fights, women rights abuses in this country. We need to discuss those things around the table so that everyone who was, who is a victim would feel taken care of. Perpetrators are in this country, they're afraid of the future. We want to talk about the issues that were done by the perpetrators so that they can have the trust and the confidence of their future in Zimbabwe. We need national healing in Zimbabwe. We need reconciliation in Zimbabwe. We need integration in Zimbabwe so that we become one family. One family. And we will not achieve these things through mass actions in the street, no. We will not achieve these things by going to some bush and take some arms and fight each other. It will not achieve this by staying at home and do nothing. We will not achieve this by watching people failing in the government. Well, so don't play any role. As Zimbabweans, we must come together around the table, discuss these issues, talk to these things. We had an experience of what we did in 2012 to 2013. We sat down as Zimbabweans to come out with our national constitution. We got experience. We got ways of resolving our own problems. We came out with the best national constitution in Africa, if not the world, which came out of the Zimbabweans themselves. So as Zimbabweans, let's sit down and dialogue. This is what I want to call upon all Zimbabweans, whether in the ruling party, in the opposition political parties. Let us now get together and resolve our problems. We want to be united as a family. Let us see a Zimbabwe that is got full of honey. Let us see Zimbabwe that has got great economic growth. Let us see Zimbabwe that is developmental. Let us see Zimbabwe that is got unity. But all this requires leadership. So for any strategy to succeed, my brother, the leadership must show utmost commitment. That's why we have seen us from MDCT. We are not ashamed as leaders of MDCT to take the lead in these issues of negotiations. We are leading from the front. Every leader in MDCT today is not ashamed to talk about unity, national unity. Is not ashamed to talk about national dialogue. We are talking about this thing in public. We are talking about this issue of national dialogue in parliament, wherever we are, because we want to show the commitment of the leadership about this strategy that we want to implement. So I'm calling for the utmost commitment from all leaders in Zimbabwe, so that this strategy of national dialogue can succeed. If you are a leader and not committed to the strategy, forget it. For an example, I have not seen any leader who is committed to mass action, as Tsvangirai was doing. The mass action under Tsvangirai succeeded because he was committed to it. He was leading from the front. He was not sending supporters to go and demonstrate. He was always leading. He was always there. He was always in jails. He was always being attacked. He was always being beaten because he had commitment, and that succeeded. For now, we need people in Zimbabwe to be committed around the strategy of resolving our conflicts using dialogue.
But Senate, charity begins at home, and action speaks louder than the word. No matter how many times we appear in any newspapers talking about dialogue, when your action is different from what you are saying, as I've said, charity begins at home. We have not seen a call for a dialogue within the MDC family. MDC is fragmented. MDC is torn into pieces by decisions that have made by MDC leaders. Let's remove the T and the A. The MDC leaders have torn apart the opposition party. We have not seen the commitment that you are talking about to national dialogue within the MDC. What we have read, what we have seen in the newspapers is hate language, is uncalled for language that sometimes you ask yourself whether this is setting an agenda. What is it that you have done as a party within the MDC family? We know where they are, what is happening to them right now, and say, this is the time that we sit, so that everyone that we are going to tell out there and say, we are for the national dialogue, they will say they have set an example.
Thank you so much for asking such important question. Actually, we are not just talking on unity. We mean all organizations or every political party must unite to one solid front. I've been calling for that. What I call the united front of the political party is what I'm advocating for. And it's not yet public, but there are other political parties that I've already held meetings with, so that we can come together. We've held meetings with other political parties. We cannot say their names now for purpose of confidentiality, but I can confirm to you that we've already started that. We've actually made a commitment as MDCT. Commitment is there, black and white, that we must unite political parties. That we've done, and already we're already in it. We've already made organizations, which are not necessarily political parties, to come together so that when we go for national dialogue, we don't go there fragmented. We have already done that. We have actually put up a program in which we are following to meet organizations one-on-one to talk about unity. We have talked to other individuals who are within other political parties and expressed the need for us to unite. That has already reached to people. We want that to happen. We want to come to a point where Zimbabwe will not be identified by a political party. We want to come to a Zimbabwe where will be identified as a nation, where belonging to a political party will not be an issue anymore. It will be just be an identity, but that identity will not be the source of a crisis, of a conflict. We want to build a nation which, when you wake up, you always say Zimbabwe first. When you talk at any podium, you always say Zimbabwe first. That's the vision we have. That's the vision we want to establish. So really, we are not playing a game here. We are very serious about the issue of national unity and the national dialogue. It's a vision that is well crafted in our head. And we are committed to see that vision implemented. Yes, of course. If you want your vision to succeed, you must educate. If you want your vision to succeed, you must advocate for it. If you want your vision to succeed, you must look for people, you must look for disciples to support it, to canvas on your behalf. Because if you run with a vision as an individual, people might not even understand you. So we are committed for this, to make sure that this vision sees the day at the end of the day. We want to remove hatred in this country. I want a person to be ashamed when you go in a public forum and you start shouting at each other, hate language, and going in a television and you start castigating individuals and other friends and other people. We want to remove that mindset. We want to remove that mindset. We want to have a nation that respects itself. The nation that's got a character of love, a character of unity, a character of harmony, a character of respect, a character of discipline. That's what we want to build. That's the nation we want to see. But it's a process, let me tell you. It's a process. When you introduce a subject, not everyone will understand the concept at the same time. People will understand the concept at different times. You know, that is reality, and you should expect that. And we are patient. But let me tell you, I'm so happy. I'm so happy with how people have responded so far. I'm so happy. At the moment, if you look at it, the discussions around national dialogue are all over the country. Look, check through any press, any paper. You will see advertised dialogue discussions taking place all over. In Bulawayo, in Harare, in many other places. People are talking about the national dialogue, which therefore the concept is sinking in the people's minds. Which therefore, for an example, I saw the advert today, which is the member of MDCT and the member of the church organization and the ZANU-PF spokesperson of the Midlands. They are going to be discussing issues around the national dialogue today. That is started. That is commenced. I'm proud about that. We already have started. We've already started the game rolling. But it's also, we would remain the torch bearers. We would campaign. We would rather go. We would rather put people in the street to advocate for national dialogue. We would rather march in the street to advocate for national dialogue. We would require churches to sing in the churches, advocate for national dialogue. We would ask students wherever they are to sing about national dialogue. The national dialogue must become the new Zimbabwean strategy to resolve their own problem.
But is it not an agenda that you are setting for the benefit of politicians? You can't, as political leaders, trample on the people's rights. Zimbabwe's human rights record is worse than it was before. after you've done that, then tomorrow you go for national dialogue?
I think, thank you so much for that question. I was the first person to admit here that one of the issues that we want to resolve in this country is the human rights abuses. We have a young man today who has been sentenced to effectively 14 months in jail. He's still a young man. He's got the future. He's got the life. Look at it. He's incarcerated. Any leader, any father, any mother would feel the pain for the young man. I'm personally feeling the pain for the young man. That must be discussed. We've got people that are currently in jail. Last Mayenga Hama, Elderman Councillor Matsoke. Those men did not kill that policeman in Glenville. Probably the killer is somewhere roaming in the streets today. These are the issues that must be discussed. Issues that must be negotiated. Issues that must be resolved around the table. Human rights abuse is something that we must respect in this country. It's sacrosanct. The human rights, they are sacrosanct. Our constitution is very clear about the human rights issues. Section 4 of our constitution is very clear about our rights. And these are being trampled upon again. But we must talk. We must sit down around the table and say, guys, let's not do this. Guys, let's do this. These are the issues that we must work on. These are the agenda items we must put on table. Because if we are shy, or if we are shy to approach each other, and some of the abuses that we're talking about here can actually get terminated if we resolve the real issues that are behind all these things, the fundamental issues of economy, the fundamental issues of democracy, the fundamental issues of good governance can be resolved if we sit down around that. And the human rights abuse will become the thing of the past. So these are some of the issues that we have. But let me tell you, national dialogue favors the people actually. National dialogue is a strategy, actually protects the lives of the people. It's a strategy, actually it builds the relationship among the people. National dialogue brings harmony among the people. National dialogue brings national healing among the people, other than mass action and going to for the armed struggle, fighting like what's happening in our neighboring country, Mozambique. You've seen how people have been murdered, killed and raped by the strategy to resolve conflict through armed struggle. So we don't choose those things. We don't choose those kind of a strategy. So the national dialogue is for the people, because the process of national dialogue is not going to be between ZANU and MDCT. We said no to that. We want a national dialogue that includes the people. It's inclusive as a strategy, which means Ambuya in Mzayabani should be part of should contribute, should play a role, a key role. Sekuru in Uganda should be consulted over issues that they want to resolve. A brother in Chirezi should be consulted over issues that he wants things to be resolved. We did this. I've given you an example of how we handled the national constitution. In other countries, the parliament would sit down and write the constitution. Because parliament is presented by people that are voted by the people in that country, it can still be a national constitution. But we, as Zimbabweans, we chose a process that was consultative, a process where we went to see people, a process where we sat down under a tree and people brought in their contributions towards our best national constitution. Still, at the moment, at this particular moment, we can still do the same strategy, approach the people, they contribute towards our national blueprint, which is going to be our Bible for this country in the future. And that Bible will be used to engage with the international world. And I can assure you, we must aim as Zimbabweans to make sure that Zimbabwe is removed from the sanctions. We must aim as Zimbabweans to see that this country is engaged with the international world. To see that this country has joined the Commonwealth, we must do it as Zimbabweans.
ZANU-PF has said no any other dialogue outside political actors dialogue, POLAD. And you are coming in with another idea and format. Do you think they will sit down with you?
Thank you so much for the question. The ZANU-PF has got the responsibility to make sure that the people of Zimbabwe are enjoying in this country. They got the responsibility to make sure that we got a good governance system in this country. They got the responsibility to ensure that the people enjoy the democracy in this country. They got the responsibility to make sure that there's employment in this country. They got the responsibility to make sure that this country has got free trade rights all over the world. They need to know that this country cannot be a pariah state as it is. They know that. That's their responsibility. I know they are not happy at the moment with the successes, their successes in as far as the economy is concerned. They're not happy. The economy is not moving on well as we speak today. We don't have a strong currency. We don't have enough food in the country. We don't have, the prices are very expensive in this country. Hospitals have no medicine. Roads they've been declared a national disaster, and a lot of youth unemployed in this country. A lot of women are suffering in this country. So ZANU has got the responsibility to ensure that these things are all attended to. So they cannot choose to remain outside the dictates of the national dialogue. They must embrace national dialogue and call. They must actually participate and probably take the lead, because they are the main actors. All of us were actors, yes, of course. But the person who's got power is ZANU-PF. The person in authority is ZANU-PF. The person with the terms of the government is ZANU-PF. It is the ZANU-PF which must actually be running in front, or to call everybody to come and sit down and resolve the national crisis in this country, to resolve issues of national governance crisis, to resolve economic crisis, political crisis, to resolve issues of national election reforms, to resolve issues that are challenging the isolation of this country among them. They must actually be the ones. Yes, they formed POLAD. We would want to blame them for trying to form a platform to resolve a problem. But it has got its shortcomings that must be improved around. POLAD can still actually be improved. What is the effort that is being put around POLAD is well established in Tanzania, even in Kenya. There's a platform where political parties actually discuss issues that go to parliament. The platform where political parties actually discuss bills before they're put in parliament. There's a platform which is used by political parties in Kenya and Tanzania to make sure that when the item goes to parliament, it's got support of all political parties, because it will be negotiated over at that particular platform, which is similar to POLAD. So POLAD is a good idea, it's a good thing. It must actually be improved. Probably what POLAD leaders need to do is to visit Tanzania and visit Kenya and try to see how effective it has been done. Where is POLAD getting, where they are getting their finances, whether the budgets of those nations are funding them, or whether they got international support system put in those countries. They can still learn. But I know there's a system like that which is similar to POLAD. When I look at POLAD, I see as a good initiation which must be improved. Make sure that at least it is a continuous process that shall even be there even after we agree on the national dialogue. POLAD must not be disbanded. It must be improved. And POLAD basically is a group of political parties which must be taken as a stakeholder in the national dialogue strategy. Just like there are so many churches, you cannot have all churches come to national dialogue. But as a group of churches, they must have a representation. Just like their business communities, there are several companies. Not all companies can come to the national dialogue, but they can have their own representative. Just like civil society organizations, just like labor, just like student movement, just like women movement. They can have their representative towards around the dialogue issue. So POLAD, the ZANU-PF, yes, of course, we are not blaming it. Personally, I don't have anything wrong with it. Personally, as Senator Morgen Komichi, I don't have any blame around POLAD. But what I believe in, from the experience that I've had, I've done the research, it can be improved. Not only for dialoguing over issues that affect Zimbabwe, but as a continuous platform that will be used for the time to come. I've seen it in Tanzania, I've seen it in Kenya. That can be seen be improved.